get rid of the pride. Like, I think pride kills so many relationships on both sides, like not just composers, like also directors too. I found the most successful projects, like bumping heads is going to happen. Like you're going to have moments where you're like, this is so awesome. And they're going to be like, I don't know, man. Or like they're going to have an idea and you're going to be like, is it cool enough though? Or is it more like that's going to happen? But if you come into that honestly as like, we want to make the movie better, then everybody has a much more fun time.
Well, welcome to the podcast today. My name is Jason Tonioli, and I have a special guest, Spencer Creaghan, all the way from Canada, hanging out with me today. Spencer has done a ton of very, very cool projects for film and TV. And I mean, what I find so unique, Spencer, with you is you've got kind of this mix of genres that I think is very interesting, where you do piano, orchestral, but heavy metal. You know, you love the metal as well, which is absolutely incredible because I love all those genres, and I see a lot of similarities in kind of our styles and genres that we love. But you are working on a ton of just amazing projects. Some you can talk about, some you can't talk about, but I'm just excited to have you here today to share some of your journey to get to where you've been. You know, a lot of people are wishing that they could work on TV, film type of stuff, and you're doing it and doing a phenomenal job with it. So thank you for taking some time to share some of your wisdom and experience with others.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here. Just chat about, like, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but like how different it is for everybody to enter in this industry. And I think there's no one path to do this. So I'd love to just share the path that I did and maybe it resonate with someone. I mean, when I was growing up, I listened to podcasts like this. Well, I guess it was more interview videos on YouTube, but it was just interviews with people that I loved, that I was like, how did they get into this industry? And it's just the amount of, you learn really quickly, there is no right way to do this. You just kind of stumble along and somehow you look back and 15 years later, you're like, oh, I did it. So hopefully whoever's listening to this can find the same thing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I know a lot of your signature style is kind of like having, these building characters with the music that you do. But I'm just curious, if you rewind the clock back to growing up, how did you end up getting into music and kind of learning to love music to start with? And how would you say that, who you were growing up and that journey, how did that end up making you realize, wow, music is a character?
That's a really good question. I've always had a balance between wanting to be a film director and wanting to be a musician. Forever it was wanting to be a film director until I was about 13. It was always like movies, but always playing music in the background, like playing piano, playing guitar. And then it wasn't really until I hit about 13, 14, 15, honestly, it was probably even closer to 15, when a buddy of mine showed me some metal bands. And I got really into that genre. I was already listening to mostly film music anyway, like a lot of like the Star Wars and Lord of the Rings music, but I never clued in that I could do that as a job. It was always like I just liked that music, and I liked to make movies, and I like to listen to that music. But then my buddy showed me a bunch of metal bands, and through just the path of listening to metal and finding different bands, I stumbled upon a band called Nightwish. They're a Finnish, like big, loud, epic kind of symphonic metal band, and just because I like to find out the influences of my influences, I always find that just like really interesting. Like who are my inspirations? What are their inspirations? So from listening to Nightwish, I discovered Hans Zimmer, James Newton Howard, those types of people, and essentially from listening to the Pirates of the Caribbean music through Nightwish, I was like, oh, I want to do this. It was like, I can do big, loud, epic music, and in a way that I've never really heard it done before. Where most people will say, oh, it was this movie that introduced me to music, or it was this album that introduced me to wanting to do music. It was this whatever. For me, it was, I became a film composer because of heavy metal bands and sort of like discovering a love of big, loud, epic music and big orchestras and telling a story in the imagination without having visuals or even lyrics. Like a lot of the music that I listen to, the lyrics don't tell the story. It's the music part that like tells more of the story, but the lyrics are kind of more poetry, images kind of thing. They're less of a narrative. They're more of just like an abstract. So even that's like finding a way to connect that image to the music and through that type of music, realizing that like the music that I like is music that paints a picture in the mind beyond anything else. And so a lot of the music that I write to picture, like a lot of the movie music, I'm trying to create another character within the film, absolutely. But I find that that is achieved by trying to create an image in the mind of the audience beyond what's like on the screen. So they're seeing one thing, but their subconscious, whether it's a memory, whether it's the dream mind, whatever it might be, is picturing something else. And I don't think they're totally conscious of it happening, but there's something, there's another kind of element start happening there where then they'll put the two together, and then the brain does the rest of the work, and then the emotions kind of take over from there. But I'm always sort of chasing that aspect that those bands I listened to did of, can the music paint an image in the consciousness, in the subconsciousness of the individual that then adds on to whatever they're seeing. So both things then work together.
So in growing up, you said you dabbled in kind of the piano and some other instruments. Were you just that kid that mom put you in piano lessons and you loved practicing, or not so much? And
mom put me in piano, hated playing piano, picked up guitar instead because it was way cooler. Then realized guitar is a limiting instrument to write on, at least what I was finding. It's not at all that way, but I was finding it to be that way. Picked up piano again, and then piano became my instrument of choice. But it's funny how it loops around, right? Like the thing that you think is lame when you're a kid, it turns out to be awesome for the rest of your life. And now I don't really pick guitar anymore. Like I use it occasionally for whatever I need to use it for, but I don't really play it that often. So,
and you probably, as a regret not practicing or spending more time learning some of those instruments, right?
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of instruments I regret not learning as a kid. I wish I learned cello as a kid. I wish I learned violin. I wish I learned drums that now I'm picking up, and it's like language. It's way harder to learn a language when you're older, way harder to learn an instrument when you're older. There's just no time. It's not so much the fact that you can't learn it, it's just the time of the day. You just have less time in the day. So I'm learning I'm learning cello and violin on my own, and I use a lot of cello and violin in my music, both professionally. I get other people to play it, but then also more and more I've been playing it myself. I've been finding with the advent of how much MIDI and samples there are out there, sometimes you just want to get away from it. So like you just want to get away from the sort of the digitalness of the music. You want to be a bit more sort of organic with it. So, I do a lot of horror, so it probably helps that I do a lot of horror. But yeah, picking up a violin and seeing what happens that day is sometimes a really interesting way to kind of just get out of your, like your standard playing or your standard practices, and just to sort of get out of the machine a little bit. Like you can sort of see what you might do, which I find really, really inspiring.
So from a career path, you ended up, as a kid, you took some piano lessons and guitar. Did you end up going to college to learn how to do this? Did you end up having another job?
Funny thing about me is I didn't do music. I didn't get into the music school that my parents tried to put me in when I was a kid. Like we tried to go to the prestigious one in London, Ontario. I didn't get in. Tried to go to the prestigious. Same with that was when I was in grade school. When I was in high school, same thing. Tried to go into the big music program, didn't get in. Didn't do music classes until grade 11 when I joined the jazz band, and I was brought into the jazz band because I was the only piano player that auditioned, and I was a crappy piano player. I only knew how to play with my right hand, and the music teacher came up to me after the audition and said, "You're in because we don't have nobody else, but you have to learn how to play the piano. Otherwise, we're going to all suffer. Like you have to. So I'm going to connect you with 5 different teachers, have an interview with all of them, and please pick one. If you can't pick one by the end of the week, then you're out, and we just don't go with piano." I was like, okay. So by that point, I knew that music was something that I wanted to pursue a bit more seriously. So thankfully, I already kind of knew the goal in mind a bit more. By that point, this would have been grade 11. So I met with a bunch of different teachers. The teacher that I went with is actually the piano teacher who taught Trevor Morris, who's most known for doing the Vikings TV show. He's also from London. So that piano teacher and I really connected, and he taught me 8 years of piano in 18 months. And I just put the brain to it and said, okay, I have to do this, a lot because I had to go to university, and universities expect a certain prowess. So he taught me 8 years of theory, harmony, technique. By the end of it, I was playing Bach, fugues and things. I can't play those anymore, but at the time I could. Within 18 months. Ironically, the irony is the school that I went to York University, I would have gotten in even on like 2 years of that stuff anyway. They were fine with people not needing needing that. But I went to after that I went to York in Toronto, which excels mostly at like contemporary music, so jazz, world music, rock, pop, that kind of stuff, which is part of why I picked it. But the real reason why I picked York was because the film building was in the same building as the music building. Like we were in the same building, so I figured I could meet people that way, begin working. I kind of had this idea of like, why wait until after university to start working? You might as well start day one, which I did. So I met a bunch of filmmakers kind of online. This was at the beginning of Facebook, when Facebook wasn't just ads and memes and stuff, and it was really you really could like meet people. So I met all the future people at York, sort of like on Facebook. A couple of them we connected to right away, and literally the first day that I moved in to university, I had a short film and I scored it that week, and we wrapped it up that week. And I still work with people that I met that week of university. I still work with them to this day. And we have a movie coming out later this month called Son of Sarah, which is our like 10th collaboration, our second feature film together. It's a horror film. It's awesome. It's weird. And that's 12 years of collaboration since day one of university, right? So it's just one of those, like, you just sort of do it. Yeah, because I had this idea of like I didn't want to get a part-time job. I sort of kept thinking like, well, if I have a plan B, I'm just going to fall on the plan B. So I just won't have a plan B. So everything was plan A. So it was like, so my dad and I made a deal of like, I have to pay for university with music. But at that time, cost of living wasn't as bad as it is now. But so it was a bit more doable to play music and make a living. Than it is now. I can't imagine the kids that are beginning now. So, but it's nuts. But I think it's still possible, right? Like it's all possible. Because even at that point, like I had no other income. It was just me and music. So made it work, and here we are, 12 years later, 12 or 13 years later. I think we're maybe I'm up 13 or 14 years now, actually. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm hearing from you that the people that you meet are kind of that key thing, and I think that's a recurring theme that I've heard from a lot of the film composers is they literally have tried to reach out, and whether it's at school or other places, those relationships that they build, and just kind of becoming friends in a lot of ways, and it is just absolutely key. I'm curious from a director's perspective, because you wanted to kind of be a director, but you've worked with a lot of them now. What advice would you have to a music person, and also for a director? Like how do you find that happy balance where you're working so well together? I mean, for doing 10 plus projects, or more than a dozen years of doing this, what do you think is key for that relationship to be successful?
Get rid of pride. Just get rid of the pride. Like I think pride kills so many relationships on both sides, like not just composers, like also directors too. I found the most successful projects. Look, like bumping heads is going to happen. Like you're going to have moments where you're like, this is so awesome, and they're going to be like, I don't know, man, or like they're going to have an idea, and you're going to like, is it cool enough though, or is it more like that's going to happen? But if you come into that honestly as like we want to make the movie better, then everybody has a much more fun time. If you come in it from a sense of like, well, this is what I want because I'm the artist, that's never gonna it's just not gonna work. Like it's no matter what it is, like it's gonna start to create some type of a conflict. So I've always found the most successful relationships are the ones where you go in honestly with, I have a really cool idea, I would like to do this really cool idea, but I also, because I think it's gonna be the best thing for the project, but I'm also open to seeing wherever it takes us. Like it doesn't have to be this idea, but this is sort of what I came with, and we'll see what happens. So I find that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up yelling at each other by the end, and that has happened too. Where like when the pride does get in the way too much, it just starts to kill the relationship, and no one's having fun. And I like to tell my assistants and my mentees and stuff, like, we got in this job to have fun every day. Like if we're not doing that, we have to rethink how we're approaching this. Not are we in the right job, but just are we approaching this properly? Because if it's really starting to lag on us, sometimes we are the problem. Sometimes we are attacking things differently. Sometimes it's just who we're working with. Like there's a whole bunch of things, but sometimes maybe we're being a bit of a jerk, and we have to rethink how are we assessing this relationship. And I've definitely been there where I've pushed too hard on something, and I'm like, okay, I need to step back. This is not okay. One of the best lessons that I ever learned was, and I didn't even really learn it in this moment. It was more kind of sort of accumulative. But I remember a showrunner telling me this, and I was like, he's right. I should have done that. Why did I not do that? Which was always write the email, send it in the morning. Likely by that point you won't send it. It sort of was the best kind of, he was like, whenever you're upset about something, just like take a day, come back the next day. If you're still upset about it, then it's clearly bothers you. If not, then it was just the emotional reaction of being wrong or being dismissed or whatever it might be. And that's more of a emotional a moment that's not a logical moment. And he was so right. He was so chill. I wasn't even that like angry. I was just sort of like, oh dude, the director's so wrong, like we should do this. And he was like, maybe, but sleep on it. Come back tomorrow. He's like, you might be right, but let's take the day to think on it, man. Let's not do anything rash right now. I was like, cool, sounds good. So, and he was right. Like it's just funny how like, yeah, just having that moment of like, it happens. Like sometimes you just love something so much because of the time that you were writing it. It's like you loved writing it more than you really maybe loved it. And that's a really big thing that I sort of helped me sort of recognize is even when I'm writing something during the day, am I loving the experience of writing this piece of music, or is this piece of or do I actually love this piece of music? And there's been so many pieces that I've lost in the process of collaboration that I thought were the best things which that I ever wrote that's just got cut. And I'm like, oh, they're so wrong. This was the best piece ever written. And then months later, I'll go back and listen to it again. And I'm like, oh no, like they were right. That was not right. That was a bad piece of music. Or it was either a bad piece or just wasn't right for the picture, or whatever it was. But it's like just that distance away from you being the person that wrote that, you being in the mindset of you writing the piece versus objectively, is this good or bad? Just having that a day, week, month, whatever it might be, just to separate those two is really interesting how much clarity you get. So that's why I say take the pride out, because pride is the thing that will get in the way of so many relationships. And just once you don't remove the confidence and don't remove the ideas and don't remove the excitement or don't remove the creativity, but just remove the idea that you're the smartest person in the room. Like you might not be. So work with people to really kind of make sure that it's awesome and cool. And I find from there, you'll make really awesome, cool music that you might even like surprise you, going like, I never thought I could do this. And it kind of like all my favorite relationships are the ones that I thought I was going to be fired because I didn't think I could handle it. I didn't think I could do it. I thought that I was the wrong pit, and they all turned out killer. And they're all stuff that I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that. That's not what I do, but it's so cool to see that I wrote that because of that collaboration. So,
well, and I think, when we look back on those things that were like, oh, wow, did I really do that? Yeah, a lot of times it's when we've been pushed or there was a lot more that went into it. And you almost forget what went into it because, it's kind of like a baby, all the pain to grow that kid. But then, they do something awesome. It's like, oh, you forget all about all the pain that you went through to get there. One of the things that I think was awesome that you just said is, not just like you remove yourself from, being about you in the music and have it be what's right for the project. I think it probably goes both ways for the director as well. You probably worked with people and when they're about like, well, this is what I want. And if both parties or everybody involved can just step back and say, well, okay, well, what's right for the project? All of a sudden it's like this shared thing where you're trying to find, it's really a journey of discovery to figure out what is the sound of that character. It's almost like you're a chef in the kitchen and like, okay, do we want to do a little bit of jalapeno? Is it, because you do too much jalapeno, it's going to ruin the dish, but maybe a little bit is right for the moment, right?
That's I like you just said there too, that's the path of the discovery. Because I work on a show called Real Estate, and Real Estate is like a kind of gothic it's sort of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but like with realtors. And I pitched the music with like a kind of quasi metal evanescence-y kind of thing, which they loved, and it worked really, really well. But as we started doing the show, I started noticing that like that kind of sound wasn't necessarily going to work all the time. Because it's just not. Like our show just doesn't have those opportunities to really do that type of music all the time. So I started writing music that was almost more Celtic inspired. Like it had like Irish instruments and things because they shot it in Newfoundland, and Newfoundland has a big Irish base. They have a lot of Irish music. And I just to tip my hat to that, be like, well, they shot it in Newfoundland. I love Newfoundland. I love the Newfoundland music. Let's just do a little wink and nod to the fact that this is shot in Newfoundland. I just started putting in Irish instruments to kind of capture that sort of just the majesty of what this place was. And they loved it. They thought it was so cool. But to a certain degree. If I went too far, it started sounding not like what our show needed to be. But they loved the idea of putting in these instruments just to give us a bit more of a supernatural sort of quality, like a more like ethereal, kind of like otherworldly essence, combined with the gothic strings and the pianos and the like Latin percussion and like the more like metal things. Like though it was a combination of all those things that kind of worked, but it was the discovery of like, okay, this is really cool. Can't go too far with it, but now let's blend that with some of this other stuff. And like the show like sort of found itself by the end of that first season, but it was really a team effort to sort of find what that might have been, of everybody kind of sending in some ideas of what if we did a little bit of this, what if we did a little bit of this, and then me taking those things, combining with my own. I just want to do a cool blend of all the things that I like and sort of meshing that together into sort of became the show. And I think, as you said, it's discovery. Like you kind of like, I think you have an idea of what you want to do, but you like, if you do that too much, it sort of clouds the excitement that can come by just figuring it out as you go also.
Yeah, no, I think that collaboration is absolutely key. I'm curious because I know you've worked with a lot of other artists other than yourself with the variety of projects you've done. What do you look for in people to collaborate and help you on projects? I mean, you've got stuff where you've done pipes. I mean, a lot of these Celtic instruments, I mean, you're not an expert on those instruments, so I'm sure you brought in some people that are,
Yes.
unique and special to those, or other, the metal instruments. I mean, you're probably good on a guitar, but you've got some guys that can really slay it too that you probably worked with. So I'm just curious, what do you look for, or what advice do you have for those individuals who want to work in the music world with somebody like you?
I mean, I like my biggest thing that I find I'm looking for is just, do we jive as people? Like, would we want to hang out together? Like, we don't need to be best friends, but would I at least enjoy spending a couple hours with you, or will my energy kind of fade over time? Because you don't want to be in a session and then a couple hours later you're like, I'm so beat. What is happening? I don't even know what if takes are good anymore. Man, like you don't want that, right? Like you want to every single time be excited by what's sort of happening. So I'm looking for people that kind of are always in that way, and I find that most musicians are like that. It's very rare to find the other aspect. But when it comes more to like, I work with a lot of metal bands, and I do like kind of like big, loud, like orchestral parts for a lot of these bands. And for those, I'm often trying to find bands that are trying to do orchestral metal in a way that hasn't been done before. Like, I don't want to just do a Nightwish thing again. I don't want to just do Flesh God Apocalypse again. I don't want to just do a Septic Flesh again. I want to do like, what can we do different? And thankfully, a lot of the bands that I've worked with are also looking for that as well. And the bands that I've worked with, the other thing that I've noticed from my aspect that I had to kind of learn was I'd also trust that the band knows their music. I'm not going to be the guy to come in here and be like, oh, I know how to make your record more awesome. I just need to be in here. I just need to come in to say like, here's what I'm going to give you. Hopefully it's awesome. And then you use whatever you like. So which I find is interesting versus the film world where everything has to be perfect before the dub. Like every note has to be exactly right. In the metal world, I find I give them a lot of different options. And sometimes it's just like, here's a bunch of different variations on something. Use whichever one you think works better for your music. And sometimes that allows them the flexibility that I'm still kind of take over. Because I find with metal, especially with metal, and I'm sure it's the case with other genres as well, but I find metal, the bands are very protective, and they should be, but they're very protective of their music. So I find even just being, I view myself more as like, I'm going to come in, I'll do my thing, and then you take it and do whatever you want with it afterwards. And I find that's created a much more healthy relationship with these bands that just want their music to sound good, but they want to be the ones making the music sound good. They don't want to have producers telling them what to do. They don't want to have the record label telling them what to do. And I learned, it took me a while to learn that one, but maybe the last 8 years or so, I've really gotten very good at that, of just being like, it's their music. I want to do the best job I can to make their music as awesome as I would want it being, but they're the final say. So let them do what they want afterwards. I find even just having that mindset, and I find the same thing is true with musicians. Like I'll bring people in that are going to do really awesome stuff, but recognize it's his music. So whatever he does at the end, he's going to use. Like I had a pipist over about a month ago, and we recorded 5 hours of music, just a whole bunch of different experiments and things like that. I maybe used 20 minutes of it. We just couldn't use the rest of it. And it's not that they weren't awesome. They were so cool, and I'm going to use them for something else. But it just didn't fit this project, right? They were awesome things that we're going to have, and I'm going to tap into them. But it was that discovery. But the guy gets it. Like even during the session, the guy was like, "You're probably going to use the 5 minutes of this, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm probably going to use 5 minutes of this." But like, we would never have that 5 minutes if like we didn't have this session. Like we would never
Right.
find that 5 minutes if it wasn't for the session. And so a lot of the bands I work with and like the artists I work with kind of see the same thing of like, yes, I might only use 20%, 50%, 80% of what like you do, but I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for you having add that in. So it's that kind of collaboration of like knowing people bring different things and like kind of like in the process and allowing that to happen. Like I think that's why you see pop records have like 20 writers, is because everyone brings 10%, but you need that 10%, otherwise it's not the same song. So when I was a younger musician, I used to think like, oh, like they're all like working with each other and they're not like oh man, like these songwriters aren't like writing like their own song. But as I got older, I realized, no, it's they want that collaboration. They want that 5% that like the one person brings to make their song better, to make them look better, to make them sound better. And that's how I work a lot of the times, both when people hire me and when I'm working and when I'm working with other people. It's, do they understand that this is a collaboration that we're going to work off of one another to make the best art possible, and understand that it might be 5%, but it also might be 90. And like, who knows? But finding that is the way that we go. Even in movies, like you might have 10 minutes of music in a movie, or you'll have 75. And understanding that like that is, you'll kind of discover that as you work on the film.
Yep. Well, I'm curious when it comes to working with some of these film projects that you've done. In the perfect world, and every project I know is super, super different. Every director and all the people that are involved in there are different. If you could set up like the ideal workflow from when you originally get offered a project or brought in to work on a project, what would kind of that ideal workflow look like between the composer and the director, in the perfect world? And just knowing that probably has never exactly happened just because of the nature of the stuff. But what do you envision as being that ideal scenario?
I mean, I love having big, long meetings with my director before I even start writing a note of music. I want to make sure that I understand their movie. Sometimes I don't always understand their movie, which isn't really an issue on either them or me. It's just sometimes you just don't quite understand what they're trying to go for. So I want to make sure that I understand what they're trying to go for. Sometimes I know right away. Sometimes I know most of it, but not all of it. And so then also understanding like why this music, like if the temp is if the temp is a certain way, do they like the temp? Do they not like the temp? Why do they like it? Why do they not like it? Things like that. What can we grab? Well, what can we not grab? And then sort of I take a lot of notes. I take so many notes on like understanding the themes and the philosophies behind the film, like the character arcs, all the story stuff. Like it's pages and pages and pages of notes. And again, just so you can find that one line, right? So I'll take all these notes and all these notes and all these notes to find like the one line that I go, that's the movie. That's what the music's going to be. And then I grab that and that becomes where sort of like where the score leads. My adage that I sort of, mantra, I guess, that I try to grab always is, what's the thing in the film that's not in the film? And then that's what the music is going to be. So to give an example of that, it's every movie is about something, or every movie has something in it that might not physically be present, that no actor, no set piece, no thing can really, really capture. Like The Lord of the Rings is a big opera, but you would never know that by watching the movie, but it's Howard's music that makes it very, very an opera, right? So his music becomes the opera that then you go, oh, this is an opera, right? This is Wagner, this is Mozart, this is all that stuff, right? But the movies itself could have gone different ways, but it's his music that tells you this is Wagner, right? So I try to do the same thing. Like, can I find something in the picture that is maybe not represented, maybe not not represented as a physical object that the music can then be, and that's where I try to go from there. And that requires a lot of meetings, a lot of notes, a lot of thinking, a lot of kind of sitting around doing nothing, but you're kind of thinking about what it might be. And then you finally start to write, and hopefully you've done a lot of the intellectual work that the subconscious kind of takes over from there, and it's more emotional work after that point. Unless like you're less trying to like logically think about it and more trying to just sort of instinctually roll with it. But hopefully you've understood it so much by that point that your instincts take over. And it might take you still a couple weeks to a month to find for those instincts to really lock in. But hopefully you've done enough of the work beforehand that you're not sitting at a blank page, because the blank page sucks. So can you sort of do enough work beforehand that there's no blank page? You sort of just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then from there, you might be wrong, but at least you're wrong in the right way, not in the wrong way. If that makes sense.
I'm curious, what advice would you give to composers or musicians who are wanting to break into this kind of scoring or just in the music industry? What advice would you give?
I got a couple. One, don't worry about this AI thing. I'm not worried about this AI thing. I think it's a fad. I wouldn't worry about it. So if that's at all something that people are worried about, I wouldn't worry about it. Artists like working with artists. It's that simple. Like we like working with other people. People like working with people. I wouldn't be bothered by it. So just get that out of your brain first off. I wouldn't worry about it. Secondly, don't worry too much about having a unique voice. You'll find it, like you will. I think everybody has their unique voice, and it took me 10 years to discover what that was. It was always in the music, but I was not focused on what's my unique voice. I have to be unique, I have to be unique. It was, well, this is like this movie reminds me of this other movie. So I'm going to see if I can capture that sort of sound, and maybe that'll help the film in a certain way, or maybe it won't. But like those things, like I wasn't so worried about like having to be a unique special artist. I just wanted to just make really cool music that the people liked. And then from there, I discovered sort of who I was and like what my voice was. Now I know what it is. But sometimes that's a detriment where like my voice has gotten in the way where I'll write something and it's to me that it's not working for the film. And I have to like rethink how I'm going to approach this. Like there's so many of my favorite works or stuff that doesn't sound like me, but it's because I had to kind of push the voice. It still is me and you can hear me in there, but it's not like you wouldn't, like if you put the slasher stuff beside us, real estate, besides like Hot Wheels, people that know my music will go, oh yeah, that's the same person. But people that don't know my music wouldn't know. And I think that's okay. I think that's almost valiant, almost in a way. So I wouldn't worry too much about having your unique voice. And then the other thing is treat the person like a person. Like we're all trying to live. We're all trying to be people. We all want to have lunch together. We all put our pants on the same way, right? I wouldn't worry too much about like, don't make the relationships transactional. Make them human. Yes, we have to get paid. Yes, you have to be treated with respect. But respect comes from treating them with respect, and the payment comes from treating them with respect. So treat them like a person. And I find that matters more. Like, don't treat a project as what can you get out of it for the next time. Treat it as like, this is a cool project. These are cool people, and I want to work with these people. And I find that's something that I do find some composers miss, only because I've seen some composer code emails and I'm like, bro, you're just trying to transactional this, man. Make it a bit more human. So I do find just get rid of the transactional aspect of this. Like, yes, we need to get work. Yes, we need to get gigs. Yes, we need to get clients, but they're not clients. They're humans that we want to work with, and they're humans that we want to make art with. That we're all trying to make art with. And I think when we think of that about it that way, as they are another human being that is trying to make art, and we are contributing to that person's art, I find that is more healthy than this person will make me successful, this movie will make me successful, this project will make me successful, because it might not. I've had so many films I've worked on where I was like, this is the one. Nothing. And it didn't do anything, right? It just doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. And then the projects that I thought nothing of became massive, and I'm like, oh, right. Because any project could have, anything could have that happen, right? So it's just like you never know. So treat every project like it matters and treat every person like they matter, and you'll kind of have a good thing, which kind of, yeah, it's just, yeah.
Kind of one last question around the creation process. So I'm curious, for creators struggle oftentimes to finish things. I mean, we just musicians, artists, I mean, we're guilty of like chasing squirrels, I call it, where you have this idea is like, we're all over the place sometimes. What advice do you have for that creator person who struggles maybe to finish the things? We get it to 90-95%. I mean, I know there's the perfectionist, and that holds a lot of us up. There's the, gosh, I have too many ideas, and so I never finish anything. What advice do you have to kind of help develop that habit of completion that is absolutely critical if you're ever going to do a film score? Because otherwise, I mean, there's deadlines that are just brutal sometimes with these TV shows and movie scores.
I mean, the idea that the joke in film and TV is that nothing's ever done. Nothing's ever perfect. It's just on time. Like, you just have to get it done. So you have to it's just like, it's over. Like you just have to move on. So I often will schedule my days in a way where I'm like, I have to move on after a certain hour. I have to move on from a certain thing, which kind of gets me thinking a bit smarter. I find when I have more time, I overthink and double think and triple think, and it just doesn't really work. You end up sort of getting caught with that, like, oh man, I don't know if this is any good. I'll come back to this later, and then you never come back to it later. So building a schedule, I like the idea of, even though we don't have a 9-to-5 job, make it 9 to 5, begin at 9, have a lunch break, be done at 5, work from Monday to Friday. It kind of creates a semblance of a bit more of a structure. Know how much music you can write a day, focus on writing that much music every day, kind of be done. Like, these days, because I have a baby, I've been writing closer to 1 minute to 2 minutes of music a day. It just is what it is right now. But I used to pump out 6 minutes a day, just like I could get it done that way because of the circumstance. It's changed now, but it'll change again. I'm not worried about it. But knowing that though, I was able to schedule. Okay, I'm a bit slower these days. I'm working a bit less. I have less hours in the day. I'm way more tired, so I'm not going to overdo it. Let's just do 2 minutes every day. Make sure that that is a good 2 minutes, and I don't have to be done. The next day, I'll check it, and then I'll send it off. Like it's knowing, like having a bit of that kind of connection. The other thing I would say is just that I actually did recently is I worked on a passion project for the last sort of 6 months that had been originated way back in 2021, and I'm only now finished it just recently. But the only reason why I finished it was I created a deadline. I was like, I have to be done by this date because I'm not going to, because projects were coming and I didn't want to not have it done before the project was coming. So I knew that a new life event was going to happen. So I was like, I have to have it done by this date because if I don't, it's never getting done. So I'm going to spend these months just working on it only with whatever time that I have, knowing that I don't have to write 10 minutes of music a day. I don't have to write 6 minutes, just like a little bit every day. But it has to be done by this date. So that kind of helped me again. I used my Monday to Friday, this is the deadline kind of brain to kind of get it done that way, and just took a piece out of it every single day and came back to it. I generally like rewriting more than writing. So I find that's a really helpful method as well, is I will write something, know it's bad, and then come back the next day to make it better. I find that's a way to do it. Just get something out and you'll inevitably make it better over time. And then the other thing that I found that my assistant asked me about actually the other day, and this is what the answers are that I gave her, and I think it's true, is when you hate what you're writing, step away and go for a walk or get something to eat or go to the bathroom, something like that. When you love what you're writing, step away, take a break, do whatever, because you will inevitably think it's so awesome. But that one bit, you're like, this one bit sucks though. And then you'll spend 2 hours on one bit that inevitably becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you've just messed up a piece that 6 hours ago you thought was amazing, that now you think sucks. So because you might have not loved it, you might just love the experience. So I always say, if you hate what you're writing, step away. If you love what you're writing, step away. You need that sort of separation to know if it's good or not. And so having even 5 minutes, grab a glass of water, grab a snack, do a walk around the block, whatever it might be, come back, listen to it again, go, oh, this is good actually. And then you can move on, or you go, oh, this is bad actually. I'm glad I stepped away because it's, yeah. So like either way, and it really is both. It really is, do you love it or do you hate it? I find that is really, really important for me.
So kind of as we're winding down here, I'm just thinking, what advice would you have for somebody wanting to break into the kind of the film scoring? I mean, there's lots of people that are, I want to be like Hans Zimmer and do that. What if you were starting brand new in this, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to that person who's kind of fresh starting out? What things should they be doing, or, where do they start?
Again, don't see it as a transactional relationship. See it as a human relationship, I think, is the big one I would focus on. Like, it's not about you. It's about the art that like, you want to do, and you're a part of that ecosystem. The second thing I would say is, honestly, I would do the same thing that I did when I was younger. Just connect with filmmakers. Like, literally just meet filmmakers. I know that seems easier said than done, but there's avenues for ways to do it. A lot of towns have their own local movie making thing. Like, a lot of major cities do for sure, but even some of the smaller cities do. And a lot of the smaller towns that might be closer by the smaller cities, see if you can get in with those communities, go to the networking events. If you have a university, when you're choosing the university, maybe don't choose it for the music program. See if they have a film program there that you can maybe meet some of the filmmakers in. Things like that. Like, again, try to see if you can connect with filmmakers. And then at the end of the day, like, make sure that you really love movies. Like, I've met quite a few composers where they just are kind of in it because of the money. And I'm like, it's not really here. Like, it is here, but it takes about 10 years before you see it. I equate it a lot like a restaurant. Like, you really don't start making money in a restaurant until about 5 years. It's a lot of deficits for a while. Then you don't start making a profit in a restaurant until about 10 years, right? Like, it really is similar to that. So I would say kind of the same thing. Like, don't worry too much about, like, you're not going to make a lot of money right away. So worry more about, like, do you really want to do this job? Do you really love movies? Do you really love the art of it? And if you do, then just keep at it and meet the filmmakers, like, nerd out with them about all movies. Like, again, my favorite collaborators are people that we just nerd out about movies half the time. We're just like, I had a meeting recently, movie started, we were both like, so weapons, eh? And we just like talked about weapons for like an hour or just before the meeting even started, just how much we loved it, right? So, but then that helped us. So like, and like the same movie, we were sort of beginning. We didn't really know how to start. We both kind of had ideas, and then he had just seen One Battle After Another, and he was like, "Dude, you have to see this movie. Let's chat about it. We're not going to do that, but I think it gave me some ideas." So then I went to go see it, and we talked about it afterwards. And I just like that love of the art kind of helped us kind of figure out the language a little bit more to help us find what we wanted to do. We didn't end up doing anything like what even like that conversation, but it built such a strong bond that even as we were discovering it over the last month, and even as I thought, "Oh my God, this isn't right," it was those conversations that that helped him know, like, yeah, I mean, we didn't land it on pass one, but I love the guy because I like hang out with the guy. So it really built that relationship that like even if we messed up, it wasn't like oh man, I gotta go find somebody else now. It was like, okay, well, he messed up, like whatever, like he's gonna find it. So it was sort of like it really built that because we just both love this job. And again, that comes from just meeting people at who they are. Like be the human being that they need you to be, and they'll be the human being that like that you need them to be, and you'll make really good art together.
Well, Spencer, I know we're about out of time, but I'm curious.
Yeah, sorry.
You're totally fine. This has been super fun. Some really great value, just some amazing advice. So I think it's one of those people are going to need to go back and listen a couple times to catch some of the nuggets you've thrown out. But if people want to find out more about your music and kind of what you're doing, where should they go? And then is there any like future project, or I mean, I know you're under NDA with some of these projects you're working on, but is there any like projects you can hint of that people should go check out as well?
For sure. Well, I mean, you can find me on all platforms that I'm still on. You can find me at Spencer Composer, just that simple. I don't think there's any capitals, and it's just Spencer Composer. In terms of projects, I mean, you can find my music in Australia State, on sci-fi, slasher, and Hell Motel on AMC. And if you have little ones, there's Hot Wheels Racerverse on YouTube. And if you're a book reader, particularly if you like the Mistborn books, I have a cool Mistborn sort of symphony coming up probably in a few months, hoping by the end of the year. It might be early 2026, but it's all done. We're just waiting for the right time to release it. And
that full symphony you did, that's like you went, there's Bulgaria, orchestral choirs.
It is Indonesian choir. It is Bulgarian orchestra, solo cello. The cellist is a metalhead, and the piece has a lot of metal kind of like inspirations, which is apt for a book all about metals. Yeah, it's a really cool piece of music. I'm really proud of it, and it's again coming out in a few months. I love those books, and it's kind of a love letter to what those books are. And I frankly just needed to get it out. It was one of those like you do it for you kind of projects. I just had some time off. It had been in the process for since about 2021. It's the thing which I alluded to earlier. And I had some time this year that I just figured, let's work on this. And it was just, why not? And hopefully Sanderson loves it. Hopefully the fans love it. We'll see. If they don't, oh, well, I love it. So we'll go from there.
And I think some of the, at least projects that I've been involved in, when you love it, that's what matters, and hopefully other people do. But as I've approached sometimes projects, I'm like, you know what? If nobody else listens to this other than my mom, it's okay. I enjoyed the process, and the funny thing is, some of those projects end up being the very best ones, right?
I'm seeing this project particularly as a very expensive demo reel, but I don't care because I just really love the music and I love those books, and I just want it. I don't normally hear music. Not normally. I don't ever hear music in my head when I'm reading books. It's part of why I like reading books, is I can get away from music and I can get completely away from that world, but it's still in kind of a storyland. But I never hear music. But I heard a bunch of music when I was reading these books, and I was like, I got to get this out. So it was really just a sense of I was going to go crazy if I didn't write something. And my wife says, would you regret it if you never released this? And I said yes. So I said, okay, let's just get this done. So it's coming out, yeah, hopefully by Christmas, if not a little bit later. And it's kick-ass, man. It's really cool music. I think it sounds like the books. I think it sounds like the characters. I'm really proud of it. And we recorded it all over the world. And hopefully the fans like it. Hopefully Sanderson likes it. And if they don't, oh well, I like it. So there you go.
Well, no, Sanderson, if you're listening to this, hopefully this is the seed of something pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to ask to go get some of that music, get a sneak peek maybe behind the scenes. So
Absolutely, yes.
we'll have to tease that out to people to kind of build the excitement around it, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, Spencer, thank you so much for sharing. Just some great advice for people today. I'm really, I'm thrilled for the success you've had, and thank you so much for just helping to kind of pass the torch and kind of give us some advice for those that are coming behind us too. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jason. This was a blast. Amazing questions. I really love I really love being here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Spencer. We'll see you. Hey, it's Jason here, and I hope you've gotten a lot of value out of this episode. Be sure to check out our show notes to learn more about our guest today, and if you'd like to support our podcast, there's a few things that you can do to help us grow. First, if you hit subscribe, it will help ensure that you don't miss a future episode. Second, if you'll share it with your friends on social media or send it via email or message, it helps us spread the word as well. And third, if you'll leave an honest review, it really helps with the algorithms so that other people can find our podcast. Finding success and fulfillment in the music industry is possible, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode.